Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
Hi all. I'm using a throwaway for obvious reasons. I, female 24, met my husband, Elon, male 26, through the yoga class that I used to take when I was in college. Elon worked there as the trainer, and it wasn't until a couple of months had passed that Elon approached me to talk. Surprisingly, we hit it off immediately. We became friends hard and fast. It was great because the only reason why I was taking up yoga and meditation was due to the fact that I was going through a very hard breakup. My relationship previous to Elon was very toxic because my ex didn't like the fact that I was taking a course in college that would allow me to earn more than he would. He wanted us to be in some sort of power dynamic where he believed that he, being the man in the relationship, deserved to be at a stage higher in terms of earning than I was, so that he could take care of me and our upcoming family. It was weird and disgusting to say the least, especially considering the fact that both of our families came from well to do, educated backgrounds. We were high school sweethearts, and after dating for so long, everyone practically knew of our relationship until we broke up. After spending the last year of our relationship in misery and constantly questioning my identity, I decided that I was never going to let a man decide where I should stand as a woman. But well, unfortunately, I was soon going to find out that it wasn't the last time I was going to deal with a power hungry man. So Ellen and I start to talk and we become good friends, only to soon find out that we're developing feelings for each other. Still, though, I was cautious, very, very cautious. I didn't let him into my life with ease, let alone in my heart. I spent an entire year getting to know him, even before agreeing to go on a date with him. But I guess, after all, that wasn't enough either, because life once again brought me to square one. Regardless, though, I know the story must go on because that wasn't the end of it. Even with so much analysis and caution, I let him into my life and thought that I was so lucky to have a man in my life who was so supportive, so kind and understanding. Elon would always try to get me to push my boundaries. He would always try to get me to do my best at whatever I was doing. But now that I think about it, I'm finding myself questioning, was it really all that good as I recall it? Being as blind as I could be, and with some great manipulative lying tactics from Elon's end, we dated all throughout college. Elon was majoring in business, just as I was, in a different subfield, but even with that, he was going to earn more than I was, and honestly, I was happy because money never mattered to me. I never cared about how much I earned or my partner earned, as long as we would be able to afford a roof over our head and a meal on our table. It didn't matter to me. And by the way Elon made it seem, it wasn't all a big deal to him either. So I continued to fall for him hard and fast. He graduated college right after a year of us knowing each other and got a job with great pay, while I continued pursuing my studies and eventually graduated too, getting an amazing job right after. Ellen and I then got engaged soon after and eventually married. It all just sounded like a fairy tale until it didn't, because all of it was just a fairy tale wrapped underneath a terrible nightmare. Currently, Ellen and I have been engaged for 2 years and are married for one. What else would I want, right? A happy marriage, a good job, and everything. I too was the happiest I had ever been, and my happiness just increased 2 times when last month I received my third promotion within the span of 3 years that I had been working in this company. Needless to say, I was at the top of the world. I was not only going to earn great money, but also these promotions were going to shine like diamonds on my resume. The support I received from everyone around me just made my happiness 10 times more. I had everyone's support except Ellen. It was weird from the get go. The person who went above and beyond for me every time I achieved something, the man who threw parties every time I got the smallest raise, was surprisingly and eerily quiet this time around when he was supposed to be the happiest. I was soon going to find out why, though, because he was going to drop this bomb on me. Elon sat me down a few weeks after I received my promotion and told me that we will have to move cities because his company is forcing him to either get transferred or resign. I was heartbroken because both him and I knew my company didn't have options to have the same position in a different city. I was put in a very tough spot. It was depressing and heartbreaking, but I knew I had to make a decision. So I began asking for advice from everyone I possibly could, and the general consensus was that I should give up my promotion because I was eventually going to quit my job anyways for my master's. Now, that was true, but I was never 100% sure about it. But still, I got what everyone was saying. So I decided to make the move with Ellen. Although I was heartbroken, we started packing up our things and finding a new place to live in this new city. I was mentally preparing myself to make the move, but boy, what I found next felt like a godsend because now I feel like there's definitely going to be no moving. It all started when I was packing up things for the move like I do during the weekends. I was in Ellen's room when I saw his laptop open and running as he was outside watching a match. So I decided to shut it off, but was surprised to see that he was using Facebook, which he never did. So curiosity got the best of me, and I began lurking just to get the biggest shock of my life. I sat there reading a conversation with his old college friend who he claimed to not talk to anymore because he was toxic and a cheat. There, he was bragging about how he got a dumb bitch like me to give up on my promotion because he didn't want to live on my dime. It didn't make sense. I was feeling myself going blur out of shock and fear. I found myself feeling like the same old person that I was in college, feeling weak, tired, and just having this sense of identity crisis. I immediately shut down the laptop and have been thinking about the exchange ever since. Unsure, unable, and uncertain of what to do, I quite literally became numb ever since. Elon has noticed a change in my behavior, but I was able to chalk it all up to the stress that's caused due to the moving. I'm really not sure what to do here, so any advice would be much appreciated. AITA? I haven't confronted Elon yet, but I have taken some steps to make sure that things don't go wrong by any chance when I do actually confront him. If a man with psychopathic tendencies like him can be with me for the money, and that too goes out of his way to lie wholeheartedly about his love for me, then he definitely can do things to turn the situation over onto me. So I decided to first take a look at his laptop, which he left at home, to see what else he has in it for me to see. And oh boy, did he have a bombshell after bombshell to drop on me. So basically, I opened his laptop. I found that he still had his Facebook unlocked, which was dumb AF, but well, it made things easier for me. So I'm not really complaining. So I decided to go through his chats one after the other and found out that he was only talking to his friend who was a cheater but he was talking to his ex from college, with who he claimed of having a toxic relationship with. It was crazy because it was from there itself that I found out that this man, who was going to get married himself, was making this move not just for me to lose my promotion, but to be with this ex of his who was married herself. This slap in the face was the final one that I needed. I screenshotted as many conversations as I could and saved them on my phone. Now, I'm not sure how I'm going to confront him just yet, but when I do, you guys will definitely be the first ones to know. It finally happened. I didn't make a huge deal or anything, simply just packed up my things and drove to my parents' place. I printed out a lot of the screenshots of the conversation and put it in an envelope along with the wedding ring. As soon as Elon walked home from work, I guess he got the vibe of it all because I could immediately see the fear on his face. It was satisfying because I didn't have to utter a word, just hand him the envelope. He opened it and immediately began sweating. I wish I could describe with words how his face turned after he read through the screenshots one after the other. It was like he was reading his death note, lol. He then began with various tactics, first blaming me for invading his privacy, blaming me for not being good enough, blaming himself and telling me that he'll change. It was funny to see him change his story so many times. I gave him 30 minutes, and by the end of it, I was practically yawning because of how done I was with his BS. I then drove myself to my parents' place, where I've been relaxing along with my family. It feels really great. I haven't heard anything from Ellen's family as of yet, but I know I will soon enough. I will keep you guys updated about it in my last post. Hi all. It's been a month since I last posted. It's been a hell of a ride ever since. I mean, not so much for me, but for Elon. It definitely is. He's receiving his karma, and that too hard and fast. Apparently, he never told his family about what happened between us, and it was his siblings who found out about this situation through my siblings because they're friends. His parents were not happy with Elon, to say the least, and have cut off contact with him. As for his move regarding the job, I'm not sure why, but he was apparently fired altogether from his job. So he's been living with one of his only friends he has left recently. As for the ex, I did end up messaging her husband, who was so grateful and thankful that I let him know of the situation. Apparently, they are in the process of divorcing themselves. As for me, I will continue to live with my parents until all the documentation regarding the house we used to share becomes clear, and I will be able to buy his share of the house. I also got the chance to take up the promotion that I had previously let go. I feel like this has been a win-win situation for me. I got to kick the trash out of my house and also got the opportunity to expand my career, and for that, I couldn't be more thankful to you all. NTA, how can someone who literally teaches yoga to be so toxic? OP, you're too strong to be kicking all these toxic men to the curb. I really hope you find someone as self-assured as you. NTA, good on your parents and his parents for siding with you and not being misogynistic pieces of crap. So, my mother-in-law is going downhill fast. She's been ill for several years now, but due to a heart attack, they've changed her medication. So now her BP has skyrocketed and she's had several falls. My husband promised his dying father that he would look after his mom. He felt better placed to do this as at the time he was single and his sister had teenage children. Now he is married and we have 4 children. His sister has been down this weekend, lived 4 hours away, and would not hear that mother-in-law may need in the not too distant future to go into a home assisted living because my husband had promised their father that I need to get back in lane because I'm not really part of the family. That's a whole other story. And what difference does it make if, for the time being, my husband leaves me with the children and moves in with his mom to keep her out of a home? Because he promised his dad. I tried to point out that sister in law knows how to play my husband and will continue to use a promise he made as a young single man to enforce her will on him. She's not offering any help. They were here this weekend, and so my husband came home for the first time in a month to spend the night with me and the children. She didn't do anything to help his mom. Up to the bed and got grumpy when mother-in-law woke her at 11 a.m. to help her down so she could get herself a drink and food. She didn't want to call my husband because she's very aware that he spent very little time with the children or me and wanted us to enjoy it. She was considering moving into a home, but sister-in-law told her not to allow my husband's selfishness to force her to do something she doesn't want to do. Whenever husband starts arguing with her, she brings up his promise to his dad. NTA. A promise to look after his mom is not a promise to keep her in her home until she passes. When someone moves into an assisted living home, they will need a family to care for them. The family still has to manage finances, coordinate medical care, shop for clothes and other personal possessions, provide transportation and socialization, and many, many other tasks. If your mother-in-law's home no longer meets her needs, or if she needs to sell it to pay for needed personal services, then your husband would be looking after her. If he helped her to sell the home, your husband does not need to do all the care himself. He just needs to ensure that she gets the care she needs. If your husband does not have a durable power of attorney, POA, for his mother, he should arrange for her to meet with a certified elder law attorney, CELA, to make sure all her paperwork is in order. If your mother-in-law does need skilled nursing care, but your husband lives with her in her house instead for a length of time, your husband might become the legal owner of the house under certain circumstances. Consult a CELA. NTA, but the idea of moving a beloved parent to a home is very, very hard to confront. The thought of it may truly be hard for the sister to handle, and she may be reacting to that rather than reacting rationally. I speak from personal experience of having to move my dad into memory care. That said, if she truly wants this, what is she prepared to do to help? If the answer is nothing, then it isn't up to her. I hope your husband and your mother-in-law listen to you if this is what she needs. Very long story. Buckle up. I apologize for my grammar in advance. I, 27 female, and my brother, 30 male, had hosted a house party with friends and family. I invited a few of my friends, and he invited his, but his invited theirs. They asked us. We said no problem. My friend who came over, 27 female, has a boyfriend, 29 male, and she only lives a few blocks away from me. Her husband couldn't make it. He got called into work, but she came as we insisted. My brother's friends invited a few who we didn't know, and one of them got drunk. That was fine. We didn't really care about that as we created a genuinely caring and safe environment amongst ourselves. This particular friend, let's call him Jay, was hell-bent on flirting with my friend. She found it funny and flattering at first, but later it became a bit frustrating. He became more persistent, even after she said she has a boyfriend. He wouldn't back down. Come nighttime, I could see my friend growing uncomfortable, even called her boyfriend and went away. I chatted with Jay and told him he needs to lay off. I don't want to cause a scene, but I will if I have to. He said fine, and he apologized to my friend who sat very close to me. We, the girls, kind of gathered around her. At 2 a.m., everyone was cleaning up, ready to go to bed. My friend was about to go home, as she said her home is near, but Jay jumped up and said he will walk her home. I then very angrily said, "No matter, I will walk her home," as he was drunk. He insisted. So we, together, walked her home and even waited until she lit the light up in her room. She was safe and sound. As we were walking back to my home, I told him he was being a dick and that I will tell him off in the morning when he's sober because there's no point in talking to a drunkard. He just said, fine, whatever, very clearly annoyed as hell. When we got home, the guys and my brother came to the gate and said they were looking for us. I just grumpily said, everything's fine, we just need to go to sleep. The next morning, we all sat down. I asked Jay if he remembers anything from the night before, and he said, kinda. I wasn't in the mood to explain what went down, and I just point blankly said he is not welcome here anymore or anywhere near my female friends. The guys were shocked, but Jay wasn't. He remembered. After a few minutes, I told them all what happened, and they got very upset. Jay called me on my mobile and said I'm a complete a-hole for ruining his friendship with the guys, as they don't want him anywhere near their partners either. AITA? NTA. Big props for calling him on his shit publicly. Pretty sure others saw it, but were afraid to say anything. Your stand for your friend is what friendship is all about. Big secondary props for everyone else that followed your lead. After hearing about Jay, fans decided to keep him at arm's distance from their loved ones. It's obvious from your story and being able to put two and two together that this wasn't Jay's first time doing this. However, because you put it out on the front street, it became easier for them to address. Good job to all of you. If Jay ever asks what can he do to fix things, tell him to get help and stop drinking to get sloshed. Jay is that guy, and he is making women uncomfortable because he can't back off when asked to. He's constantly trying to get somewhere, and he makes people not want to hang out. Did you mess up his friendships? No. He did that with his actions. NTA.